Ready.
Okay, yeah. Now, there's some other strange things that have gone on in 2016, and one of those seems to be a focus on Antarctica, that great southern polar continent.
Exactly.
Now, it's a mysterious place. It's very few people have been there, and no one lives there. It is sort of like totally uninhabited. There's some scientific stations. There's always a few thousand people there just working on various scientific research projects there. There may be some more that are secret. There may be some secret facilities down there as well. But it has a dark. Its short history is very dark. I mean, it was only seen by the pack ice around the continent was seen by Captain Cook in the 18th century. But no one actually landed on the Antarctic continent until 1898. And the South Pole was first reached in 1909 by Roald Amundsen, and probably more famously, the runner-up's even more famous, isn't it? Captain Robert Scott, who was a British man. He was beaten by the Norwegian, sadly, and him and his men died on the way home. And which is very sad. And the diary, there's a famous diary. Poor old Captain Scott and his men. But there's so it's been shrouded in. It's very, very difficult to get around there. It's extremely cold. This is one of the reasons. Nothing grows there. There's no food, so you can't farm anything down there. And it's isolated. It's a long way from anywhere. But there is some strange things. What's out of sight is out of mind. It's the perfect place to do secret stuff if you're a government.
Exactly, yeah.
And Nexus magazine published some articles a couple of years ago indicating there've been nuclear bomb tests there, which they can do completely in the open because no one's ever going to see it. Also, I mean, I met a man in 2006. He was an elderly man, got in touch with me through a third party and arranged to meet me. And he said, in 1947, I was part of a British Army task force that fought a war in Antarctica against the remnants of the Nazis in the German bases, the Nazi bases in Antarctica. He died actually last year, this guy. So I never knew his real name. He called himself Jack.
No.
So weird things in there. I mean, but you can sometimes see strange things going on. For instance, in 1946, there was something called Operation High Jump, where there's a massive fleet of ships, US Navy ships, headed for Antarctica to set up. They said they wanted to set up a scientific research centre and prospect for minerals and things like that. But do you really need an aircraft carrier and a battleship and all things like that to do that? You don't need that. So again, that was a bit weird. I think that was connected to the military action that my friend Jack took part in.
Okay, was that connected to Captain Byrd?
Yes.
Or Admiral?
Admiral Byrd was a pilot, and he was actually part of that. He was in command of that task force.
Okay, and they got attacked and withdrew.
There were several different stories about what happened, but one thing for certain is that when Admiral Byrd came back, he was never the same man again.
Yeah.
In fact, he had a nervous breakdown and ended his life in a psychiatric hospital.
Oh.
So, coincidentally, there's another man called, this was Admiral James Forrestal, who was also part of that task force. He's one of the deputy commanders of Operation High Jump, who had a nervous breakdown and ended up in hospital, and died in hospital. He fell out of an upstairs window. Apparently, he fell out of an upstairs window in a hospital. Weird, isn't it? This is odd. I mean, as a hospital porter, I'm the first person to ask a question like this.
Yeah.
A psychiatric ward on an upstairs floor has windows that can open? I mean, I know, I've had to pull people off window ledges when I was a porter trying to jump out the window. I was in a hospital, my hospital was 7 floors tall, and people did try to commit suicide, and I had to pull people off window ledges when I was a porter. And this was just on a general surgical and medical ward, so the idea that somehow on a psychiatric ward they would have windows that could open is nonsense. So what's going on down there? Not sure, but one thing's very odd. So, 100 things are very odd about Antarctica. But one of those is there's recently been some pictures revealed showing what looks like pyramidal structures.
Yes.
Now these are supposedly just mountains. They're in a part of Antarctic that have never been explored. They've never been visited. So no one's ever seen them from the ground. They've been seen by. There's some aerial shots of them, and there's some satellite pictures.
Yeah.
You can find them on Google Earth if you look.
Yeah.
Now, people say they're just mountains, but they're surprisingly regular in shape. They are square-based, and they have straight, square edges.
Yeah. Like
a pyramid. They look like the pyramids of Egypt, although they're about 3 times the size.
Yeah.
So there's a large number of those. Now, that shouldn't be possible because the continent's been frozen for millions of years. So does this mean, because when in earlier times when the climate was warmer and there was no ice, did somebody or something build them then?
Yeah.
In which case, who or what built them? Were they from this planet or were they from other planets? But similar structures have been seen on the planet Mars. And I wonder if there's a connection.
Yes.
Who knows? But we may find out. I mean...
Well, we found out that there are many more pyramids around the world than we first thought.
That's true. In Bosnia, for example.
That's one.
And on the Canary Islands.
That's another.
Yeah, and there's several others, yeah.
In South America.
So it seems likely.
Turkey.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's these pyramids, no one knows who built these, but they in many cases they're far older than the pyramids of Egypt.
That's right, and that they have a different purpose than what we first thought.
Yeah, I mean the idea that they're just burial chambers is rubbish.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see. I mean, in Egypt, I mean, the burial chamber. There are burial chambers in Egypt, like the Tutankhamun tomb, that Howard Carter unearthed. They're totally different.
Yeah.
They're firstly, there's the walls and ceilings are covered with inscriptions. There's writing all over the walls and ceilings, telling long narratives about the king, who's buried there, his life, things like that. He's lying in a sarcophagus. There's all kinds of gifts surrounding him to accompany him on his journey to the afterlife. The only inscriptions on the Great Pyramid are graffiti. Nothing was written on it at all. So the Great Pyramid is something totally different. But coming back to Antarctica, a large number of people, famous people, have been to Antarctica lately. One of them was Buzz Aldrin, the astronaut, who supposedly walked on the moon. He got sick actually and had to be evacuated. He had to be rushed out. Another was John Kerry, who was former Secretary of State. He went there
the day before the election.
Yeah, that's sort of, isn't it? And this was a guy who actually he disappeared for a few hours